All right. Welcome back to the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. It is another great day here. I'm always grateful to be back with you. And we are picking up. This is part two. If you missed the first part, this is part two. We're going to jump into about expanding your influence through connection and service. We talked about influence on our last episode in the form of networking in learning environments. I happen to be going to the Wildlife Society Western Section annual meeting, long title, but this week, and I was talking about how we can lead beyond our titles, and how we can have great influence, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a position of authority, uh, but it can come from a place of building influence and connection with others. And so, um, just to recap, we talked about the three pillars of influence in our last episode. Go back on them if you missed them. We talked about character, we talked about competence, we talked about connection. And where I'm going to go on this episode is helping you expand your influence through connection and service. This is a long game. This is not a short game about building influence. And it's really important. It can be really impactful. I've been in the environmental consulting world for plus 20 plus years. And I'm thankful that I have some semblance of influence and effect on those that I get to serve, come alongside. And I'm going to highlight some of those stories and background on this episode today, of the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. But remember that, it's built on trust and service, your influence. People trust you and they see the good works that you're doing, they're going to allow you to influence them. On the same token, if they don't see, things that they believe is trustworthy, or they don't see the fruits of your labor, they're not likely to trust you, and certainly not going to let them be influenced by you. And so leadership is about your impact, not your position. Your position is a byproduct, I would say, of your effective impact. You should be promoted, and your leadership should be recognized based on the impact and influence you have over others, because they have allowed you to lead them. A leader by default has followers, has people that come behind them. Now, granted, people can take position or authority by force, but it doesn't typically last. Doesn't last, and that's a good thing. It's not unfortunate; it's a good thing. We want people to be in places of authority built on solid influence, solid service, solid care, because they're looking after those that are been entrusted to them. My business is called Steward Your Business for a reason, because we are taking care of what's been entrusted to us. And so, the give first mindset is really important. This is something that has been with me for a long time, but was one of the key components for me to leave a company I'd been with for 9 plus years. Good company, great experiences there, great people. But to go to another company at the time, it was Argus Environmental Consulting. You guys can check them out, Angela Poli. But one of the things in the philosophies that she had that I fully recognized and appreciated was this: give before you get. It's giving and providing, and learning that if we do that first, we're going to be able to build credibility, build trust with others. For those of you that don't know, I have another podcast called the Business Roundtable Podcast. Please go check it out. I just had a host on there, guest, as I was hosting, Leslie Anderson, who was talking about this in the case of social media marketing. And so that episode is going to be released soon. So go check out Business Roundtable Podcast as well. But what I want to get at is that when we give first, when we offer value, when we say, "Hey, check this out, see this," to me, that's very important. Um, Yesterday, I spent two calls with UC Davis students. Um, I'm not, you know, they're not paying me. This is just not something, because I wanted to give. I wanted to support them. I knew they were going to be at the Wildlife Society meeting, and I knew I could help them, and I knew that I could give back. And part of the reason why I even created Steward Your Business is a way that I can give more. If I'm providing value and providing positive impact, then people will want to pay, want to be a part of that, and then I can reinvest that. I can put that back out into the world, both in my time and my money, allowing me. Your business has allowed me to spend this time going up to Visalia for better part of a week, to participate, to engage, and to connect. And so when we have servant leadership, this shows up in different ways. Like I just mentioned, doing some mentoring and meeting with students. It's maybe making key introductions. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing at this event. Is I've already met with some clients and some other folks that I'm going to be introducing and connecting and seeing how can I help, how can I bring value, what can I do to help them along their path. Because I know that if I do that and I come from a place of abundance, they're likely to do the same or bring others into your world. When you come from a place of I've got more than enough to give, it naturally is um, what's the word I want to say, attractive to others, and rather than being extracting or trying to be transactional. Um, Share insights without the expectation of return. Look for ways that you can provide somebody, come alongside somebody, ask them, would you like some input? Would this be helpful for you? Oftentimes people are really welcome that. I surrounded myself with coaches, confidants, those that I could talk with, share with, so that I am not alone. And that's what I do. The same thing here at Steward Your Business is that I come alongside you as a coach, as a consultant to help you and your teams become stronger, become unified, talking with each other, breaking down barriers, finding ways that we can, look after each other. You would think it'd become natural, but unfortunately it's not. And that's why I have this podcast to help you be that intelligent human leader, being more effective in the way that you're showing up. Follow up with genuine interest with others. What are they after? What are their goals? And find out if you can align them, or if not you, maybe you know somebody or know a resource to get them plugged into. Sometimes that makes all the difference. It's just a simple introduction. I did that last week for a client. I had a gentleman on my other podcast, again, Business Roundtable podcast, and I'm like, it would be great for you two to connect. I'm not getting paid. I'm not getting anything out of this other than I can help somebody and point them in the right direction, give them a resource. I believe that it comes back to us. If you want to call it karma, whatever you want to call it. But I believe that as we sow, we reap. We live in a world. I come from a biology background, right? But if you're a biology farmer, you know that if you sow over time, you're going to reap. You'll get something back if you do it well. And you maintain that. Um, as I'm going into this particular week, I'm going to the Wildlife Society conference, but I go to other conferences. I'll be going to the Desert Tortoise Council here at the end of the month because I love wildlife, I love conservation, I love people, and I love trying to pull all these things together. But the way you can position yourself as a leader is be present, rather than focusing on what you're going to say next or just kind of going through people. In fact, I just had a coach last week um, was telling me, look and make sure that you're not just going through people, especially at conferences or networks. That you might be trying to, oh, I got to get to all these people, but there may be that one person right there in front of you that could be really, really meaningful in the connection. You might just move right past them. And so I want you to pause. I want you to be fully present and observe room, observe the people, observe the conversations. Um, and don't be so quick, possibly, to move from one person to the next. As a connector, at least that's a challenge for me sometimes because I see other people, I'm excited, but staying present and engaged, that one conversation could be very powerful. It could lead to a new project, could lead to a promotion, it could lead to a new position, possibly. We don't know where this will lead exactly, but we do know that if we're um, fully present and fully engaged, we're going to have a better connection with the other person, better relationship. And heard me talk about this in the past episodes. I'm all about relationship and then opportunity. It's got to be that relationship first, and then you can build that up. I'm going to be talking about in future episode some breakdowns where that hasn't been the case. For those of you like look on Glassdoor. I was just looking at reviews there, and I often go there and I see where are the challenges, where are the conflict. And so come back for a future episode. I'm going to be getting to that. But think about this: are you fully present? Um, Share from your specific experience or insights. Now, maybe you don't have a lot on a particular subject, but think about this when you're sharing. Does it add value? Does it contribute? Is it um, insightful? And again, if you're not sure, you can always ask the person, "Would you be open for me sharing?" Or can I just give you my thoughts on this? Because I'm curious. As you're building that relationship and connection, that is going to build influence. Um, that is going to the person's going to remember. Oh, this person took the time out to understand where I'm at. They're interested in what's going on. Um, Yesterday I had this great conversation with a student, and she was talking about she's going to be a speaker at the meeting this week. She's nervous. Um, she's a filmmaker. She's a biologist. All these different things. I was just taking it all in. It was exciting for me to hear her and also to provide feedback and insight. And at the end of the conversation, she told me, I feel more calm about going in now after having talked with you because I've talked lots. I do the podcast. This is not new to me, and so I could share my insights and I could listen and hear her fears, hear her challenges, where she's at, and share from my own experience and insight. Um, and that's what I do in my coaching program, and that's why I create a space for those that are not alone. Because oftentimes it feels very intimidating. I feel isolated. I feel alone. I don't know how to connect with others, and so then your influence is going to be minimal at best. Um, the other thing here is follow up. And I'm bad at this at times. I've gotten better. I have to work on providing systems and processes. Sometimes it feels counterintuitive to me because I'm like, oh, these systems and processes. But I've learned as a connector, I need to tap into the guardian voice. If you're not familiar with the five voices, reach out to me. I'll send you a free assessment. But um, this is important. Again, maintaining relationships takes energy, takes focus. It doesn't just happen. So actively following up, maintaining, exchanging contact information, finding out what's going on with them. This is something I live by um, daily. Um, if you're not engaging in person or virtually on a regular basis, your influence is going to be minimal because it's like, well, you're not really in my life. You're not involved. I have two teenagers, and if I'm not actively involved with their life on a pretty much daily basis at some level, then my influence is going to be very little to none, nil, because I haven't invested the time. Now, I was thankfully very intentional from when they were young up until today, where I was being present, being engaged, following up. What's going on? How can I help you? Where are you at? These are very important, and some of you might find this more easily done than others, and that's okay. Just recognize the value of following up and maintaining those relationships. Did you add them to your contact list, right? Did you connect with them on LinkedIn? Whatever that might be for you, uh, you remember them and follow up with them. Those are people that are meaningful to you. And over time, consistency, just like anything else, is key. As we show up authentically, consistently, day in, day out, this is who I am. You guys have, for those of you who followed me along this podcast journey over a year, I launched this podcast here, Intelligent Human Leadership, in January of 2024. I've been putting an episode week after week. You can find me on YouTube or LinkedIn. And my aim is that you should see consistency in how I show up and reliability and know that, David's a person that I know. I believe that he could support me along my journey. He has bona fide results. And so he's there, consistent. That's huge, whatever that is for you. But we want you to be consistent and show up authentically. Don't be anybody else, but be yourself. Now, this can be challenging, especially for a young professional, somebody even that's been doing this for a while, and you've taken on a new position or new role, and you're like, I think I should be this way. I work with people like that. And I know it's challenging, especially when you're like, well, I'm a manager now, or I'm a group leader, or I'm this role. And how do I show up authentically? Well, that's something I take through. I have a whole sole purpose intensive and resources, and happy to talk with you more about that for you and your team. Reach out to me. But the point is, we want you to be authentic, lead in your what I'd call your primary voice, um, and be reliable and do what you say you're going to do. Execution matters. When I talk about this, we have a flywheel that I look at. And one of the sections is execution. We talk about communication capacity, but execution is certainly a good one. You know, if you don't have good execution, then people are not going to trust you. They're not going to know if you're reliable. And are you going to say and do what you're going to do? You said you were. So when you are committed by serving others, do what you say you're going to do, or don't say it or don't commit to it. It's the worst is when you said you're going to do something you don't. I'm guilty of that. I've done that. I've done that in my marriage. I've done that with others, and I had to receive feedback. Here's one thing that's important. Can you receive feedback? Can you be humble? Can you be coachable when you miss the mark? Or are you kind of untouchable? Do you put your arm out and say, no, uh, you know, I don't want to hear it. I don't, I'm above it. None of us are above it. But I found be very empowering to hear back from others where, I missed the mark, or I didn't quite, you know, fill the gap that I said I would. And so I can be mindful of like, I better be careful about what I'm committing to and how I'm serving others if I'm not fully able to provide that. I'm a very positive person. I'm a very can-do person. But that can get me into trouble because I can bite off more than I can chew. This is about knowing yourself to lead yourself. This is the underlying foundation of this podcast as being that intelligent human leader. If you don't know yourself well, you're going to fail others because you're going to try and be something that you're not authentically. And it's very hard to maintain that. Um, as you do this, there's a circle of influence model that I go through, and where they're kind of concentric rings. And moving out from ourselves to our family, to our coworkers, to our community, and so forth. But it starts with ourselves and then our immediate, family and friends, and goes out from there. As you do this, people will remember and recommend you. So think about this as like throwing a rock into a pond, right? Those concentric circles. And then they hit other circles and other circles, and like, oh yeah, this person and that person. I can tell you have been in the environmental consulting industry for over 20 plus years. This is absolutely true when you do it, and it's the reverse too. It can be influential, and you can have connections, and doors can be open to you if you do this consistently over years. Um, and it's awesome. It's a blessing. I'm very thankful that I've got just so many great connections and people, and can walk in the doors and have conversations with people that you wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity because you haven't built influence. You haven't built the reps, if you will, in this. And so, we want to get you to this place where you're looking at helping others before seeking opportunity. So as you go to a conference, like I'm going to the Wildlife Society or whatever that is, go in there with the intention of like, how can I serve others? How can I learn more about them? And build the relationships. And the opportunities will come. When the event ends and the name tags come off, how will people remember you? What will they say about you? Will they even remember you? I want you to be memorable. I want you to be the person that they're left saying, "Man, I've got to follow up with this person. They had amazing insights. They cared. They truly, you know, influenced me." If they can really say that, and I hope all of us can have people like that in our lives. I want to be that person, and I want to be around people like that. Um, and I want you to share what your networking stories are, good or bad, so we can learn from them on this journey of steward your business with the intelligent human leadership podcast. Why I've created it is to build community and connection. Part of the ways I do that is we have a monthly boot camp, Five Voices boot camp. So if you're interested in that, you can simply go to bootcamp.stewardyourbusiness.com, check it out. Would love to have you. We're going to be running another one this month here in February, and our goal is to have one every single month this year. So you have an opportunity to come join, be a part of that journey. And know that here I'm coming, and hopefully as an example to you of how to be an influential leader. Building relationships, not transactions, serving others is really the fastest way to expand your influence and leave an impact uh, greater than what's the title on your name badge, right? I hope this really empowers you today as you listen to this podcast episode. Please share, invite others to listen to the podcast, join me. Um, I welcome your feedbacks, your reviews, 5-star reviews, your likes, whatever podcast platform that is. Subscribe. I'm on YouTube and whatever podcast platform, Apple, Breaker, you name it, Spotify. I really appreciate you guys jumping on with me, being a part of the journey, and look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of the Intelligent Human Leadership Podcast. There we go, everybody. Until then, take care, be well, serve others, and make sure that you're feeling the best after having had that interaction with you. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care.